Welcome back. Joining me now from our LA studio is Bachelorette alum Matt Donald. How are you, Matt?
What's up, Darren? I'm doing well. How are you?
How has life been post-Paradise? You're not sweaty today, so this is a good sign, Matt.
No sweat today, thankfully. It's a nice, winter/spring in LA. So give it like 3 more months and I'll be dripping sweat. So
Yeah. Then we'll really
ready.
have the cameras on you, absolutely. So I'm assuming you've been keeping up the season.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you think of Peter as the Bachelor so far?
You know, that's a great question. I think Peter's been a really nice guy, and I think we kind of fault him for that. And I think he's kind of getting a lot of heat for being just a good person. I don't know. I feel for the guy because, like, he doesn't like confrontation, and he's the Bachelor. It's just really hard to avoid that. And I kind of empathize with him because I think I would be the same way. Oh, I would be 10 times worse. I think he's handling it actually really well.
Do you think he needs to be tougher with his decision-making and with the women?
Yeah, I definitely would say so, yeah. I mean, I think when you look at, like, the perfect Bachelor, right, it's somebody who's assertive and knows what they want, and they're persistent, they're aggressive, they're confident. So I think Peter could probably do a better job, but I still think there's no rule book or guide on how to be the best Bachelor in the world. As there might claim to be 1,000 books out there, but this is just such a role for him that I don't think there's just like a step-by-step on how to handle things. And I feel for him, man. He's having a tough time.
Well, I want to dive right into last night's Bachelor because things were a little tense with Hannah Ann's dad. Let's rewatch that.
I'm actually hoping to tell her this tonight, is that I am falling in love with her.
Do not say that word to her unless you wholeheartedly, that's what you mean and that's what you're going to do.
I mean, does her dad not know she's on a reality show about finding love in a set period of time? I mean, do you think Peter is actually in love with Hannah Ann?
Yeah, it's hard to not be there and see it. I think he is. I don't think he would say it and not mean it. I think, not to jump ahead, but I think him and Maddie are obviously got this connection where I think he's in love with them. I don't know so much about Victoria F. I know we're jumping ahead here, but I think he does. I don't think he would say it knowing that his dad might kill him if he said it and not meant it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. He does seem a little intimidating, but did you think that Peter needed that warning, or do you think the father was just, overreacting and sort of being overprotective?
I don't think he's being overprotective. I think imagine if your daughter or son was dating like 4 other people and they came to your house and were all smiles and happy, and then tomorrow they go to the next person's house and they're all happy and they're talking about how they love that person. I could see myself as a parent just being the same way, where I would really lay down the law and be massaging my shotgun on my lap.
That's intimidating, Matt Donald.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I have a backbone. I can get kind of mean.
You have a backbone and a shotgun.
I don't resort to violence.
Just intimidation tactics. Well, to your point, it wasn't only Hannah's dad who was hesitant about Peter. Kelsey's mom also had a warning for him. Let's look at this.
As a mom of 3 and have gone through a divorce, I am concerned. Nobody wants to have their children's heart broken. So don't break my girl's heart. Do you understand?
I do. I 100% do.
I mean, listen, obviously a parent is going to say that, but like, you're on a reality show to find love, and most relationships don't end well. You know what I mean? So you're going to break your heart. Do you think Peter is sort of rushing some of these relationships?
I wouldn't say he's rushing it. First of all, I have to say, when somebody says, "Do you understand?" that is like the most intimidating thing in the world. So when I was watching it last night, I kind of like cringed up in a ball a little bit. I was like, oh, that would be such a tense, uncomfortable situation. I think there's different relationships that he has right now where he's moving faster than the other. But that's not to say that he's not, potentially falling in love with Kelsey. But I think he has stronger connections with some of the other ladies that he does have left. I think it's pretty obvious too. The writing's on the wall with Madison and Hannah Ann. Is it Hannah Ann or Hannah? I've been trying to figure this out.
Yeah, it's Hannah Ann. They
we're going by
waffle
Hannah
back
Ann.
and forth.
All right, cool.
But you know, like Matt, Bachelor is a dating show. Isn't heartbreak kind of part of the game? I mean, only one woman can walk away with him. So, you know, you got 20-something women that are probably going to be heartbroken.
Right. I would imagine what the conversation is like before Kelsey were to go on the show and her family's like, Kelsey, like, this either ends in marriage or heartbreak, you know, but not to get all mushy-gushy, but I mean, that kind of is like what love is, right? It's like taking the chance and putting yourself out there and being vulnerable, and, you know, you're either going to get your feelings hurt or you're going to end up with the person for the rest of their life. But like, that's why this show's so great, is because you get to see the real emotions and like the real struggles of what it's like to be in love and unfortunately not find love, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. The real consequences. Do you think that your parents would have been as protective over you? Getting
that's
uncomfortable,
a good question.
Matt Donald. Shifting in your seat a little bit.
Yeah, you know what? It would be, I've always thought about this. If I made it to hometowns on my season, it would have been such an interesting episode, because like we would have had like an interpreter there, or I would have interpreted for my parents with Hannah Brown. Like, you know what? My parents are so non-confrontational that I don't think they would have, like, they would have probably loved her just because she's from Alabama. But I don't know. They're just not the confrontational type. So it would have been, oh, we love her. Like, you need to marry this woman, blah, blah, blah. It wasn't going to be like my dad is like, you need to make sure if you tell him you love him, you marry him kind of thing.
Right, exactly. And it's also different with men and women. There are definitely differences and maybe a little protection more for women than for men. Last night, there were no shortage of surprises, and Madisons Secret was absolutely one of them. Take a look.
There, you know, are some things that I still need to kind of share and open up with Peter about. And one of those things is that I am saving myself for marriage.
As long as you're true to yourself and you maintain your standards and he respects that,
Yeah.
then I think you'll know what to do.
I want to get your thoughts on this. Does saving herself for marriage hinder her chances with Peter?
So that's a good, I mean, this is kind of like deja vu, right? Because the same situation happened last season with Luke P, where Luke P, I don't know if there was an ultimatum put out, but he was saving himself, or I don't know, the whole rebirth story or whatever it was, but he essentially was not okay. You know, what was that with Luke? I'm trying to think about it now. Was he a reborn virgin? Is that what it was?
Yes, I think, yes, but yes, that's accurate. But he did give her, he's basically said he was going to be pissed at her if he found out that she was sleeping with other men on the show, which is sort of what we're getting at with Madison. So it kind of put him in a hard position. Do you think it's going to put her in a hard position?
Yeah, you know, it honestly puts Pete in a hard position. How do you handle that with two other girls in the fantasy suites? And like, I don't know. Like, do you take the risk of exploring more with Hannah Ann and Victoria F, knowing that Maddie, if she finds out, could just leave you? I don't know why I'm calling her Maddie like I know her really well. Madison. But it's a tough situation. I feel for Peter because like he wants to respect everybody who's there, who's left, and I can tell. I mean, it's obvious that he's super into Madison just from the first date when he brought her to his family. So you know, it's a tough situation. Peter's in a tough spot for sure, but I'm like glued to my seat trying to figure out what he's going to do.
Well, do you think if there's any difference though between what Hannah B did to Luke and threw him out of there as soon as the ultimatum sort of happened to Peter hearing this from Madison? I mean, can he really just toss her out of the competition?
Yeah, no, definitely not. So the Luke P situation was obviously very different. Everyone was like, Hannah, why do you keep Luke P around? Where with Madison, it seems like she hasn't gotten in one confrontation with any of the girls, which is saying a lot considering everybody, it seemed like, on this season has gotten in some sort of confrontation. And she's done a great job of avoiding that. So I think, this is going to sound so cheesy, but like I actually think she's there for the right reasons. And I think Peter sees that, and he's really in love with her, but he's stuck in this really difficult pickle of these two other girls that he's really interested in as well.
One of the biggest moments from last night's Bachelor was when Peter confronted Victoria F. about a little rumor he heard. Let's rewatch that.
She told me that you've caused a lot of other relationships to end. I don't know what she's referring to, but like for me, that was like the biggest bomb.
I am
Do you think,
done with this
you
conversation
think it's
right
possible?
now. I can't do this. I can't. I'm so done.
Okay, I have a lot of questions here for you because I'm a little confused as to why this mattered to Peter, but also he doesn't like confrontation. So should Peter have confronted her about this, especially since he was like outside of her house about to meet her family?
Yeah, I really respect Peter for doing that, because imagine if he did meet her family and then talked to her and confronts her about it and had that exact situation happen right after. I think that would have not been a good look for Peter. I think he did 110% agree with him for going ahead, pulling her aside before he even meets the family, having this talk and seeing how she would react. And obviously she didn't react well at all. She kind of ran away. So that was an indicator for him, like, okay, this, I thought if it was me in his shoes, I'd be like, this is a sign that I wasn't here to meet her family.
Should Victoria F. have stayed and talked things out, or do you think she was right to kind of walk away, considering the rumor she was just confronted with?
Yeah, I think she deflected a lot. If you look at the conversation, she was definitely deflecting. I think she should have talked about it more. I mean, I'm a huge believer in communication, right? And if you can't communicate with your significant other, how are you guys going to be successful together? And you can tell the moment confrontation starts to happen, or accusations, or I guess it wasn't an accusation. It was more of a question. And she was so quick to just kind of run away. That to me, in my relationships, would be a red flag.
Well, Peter ultimately decided not to meet her family. Do you think this was a good idea and, let the fight just be what it was? Or do you think he should have done it?
No, I don't think he should have done it, because imagine going in there after you just had this really bad talk and you have to put a smile on, and, I have to be kind of put together and act like nothing's going wrong. And then, the moment you step out of the house away from the family, it's like, oh, we still need to talk about this situation. I don't know. I think he did the right thing. I don't think it's tough though, because like, what if he goes to the fantasy suites, he falls in love, and he wants to marry her, and he hasn't even met her family? Like, it puts him in a tough position.
And I'm just curious what you think about the rumor in general, because to me, her saying like, oh, she breaks up a lot of relationships is sort of vague. Doesn't really mean anything. Doesn't mean she's a cheater. It might mean that a lot of guys really like her and break up with them for her. Were you as traumatized by this rumor as Peter seemed to sort of be?
Yeah, I mean, I remember hearing little rumors before the season even started. There was kind of this one person who was notorious for doing stuff like this, I guess. It doesn't hold a lot of weight, though, because we don't have, like, firm examples of what's going on. Like, I don't know, the whole Chase Rice thing. Like, we knew that she was dating Chase Rice before the show because Chase Rice was right there. That's his name, right? Chase Rice?
Yeah, I think so. The music guy.
Cool. What's that?
The music guy, but yeah, it's Chase Rice.
The music guy.
Yeah.
The guy who just can play the guitar
right.
so well and sing. I wish I was that talented. But yeah, so kind of just bringing it back in, there wasn't a lot of weight. I wanted to see like legit, like husband, wife coming into the scene and being like, you broke us up, blah, blah, blah. But unfortunately it didn't happen.
Yeah,
that would have been awesome, though.
That would have been the best episode ever. But, the drama continued.
So entertaining.
The drama continued all the way to the rose ceremony, where Peter made a shocking choice. Let's watch that.
Victoria. Victoria, will you accept this rose?
Thank you. Thank you for everything.
All right, Matt, from everything we know, do you think Kelsey should have gotten that rose instead of Victoria?
Yeah, I think Kelsey for sure. And Peter had the opportunity to meet her family and talk to them. It makes me wonder, I would love to talk to Peter and find out like how much of that conversation with Kelsey's mom kind of scared him into not picking her. So I don't know, but Kelsey, she seemed like she was a really good fit. It's so funny because if you look at the beginning of the season with like the whole champagne gate, we all were like, oh my gosh, who is Kelsey and what is she doing here? Like, how is he keeping her around? But like, she kind of won over my heart as the season progressed, and her family seemed really great too. So it was sad to see her go, especially the fact that Peter picked Victoria F over Kelsey and hadn't met Victoria's family. I don't know, that was just kind of a bummer to see.
Yeah, who is your top contender for Peter's heart right now? Victoria, Hannah Ann, or Madison?
I would say Madison, for sure. I think that's all of Bachelor Nation, right? I think we're all kind of like, oh, Madison, it's Madison.
Well, in next week's preview, though, things with Madison seem to come to a head. Let's watch that preview.
I haven't seen Madison like this before.
She's unwinding.
She gave him
The ultimatum.
and I'm sorry, that's disgusting.
Putting him in that position is so unfair. Are you kidding me?
Okay, so we've seen this before. We talked about this with Luke P. and Hannah Brown, but is Madison's ultimatum unfair to the other ladies and Peter, or is she just trying to be true to who she is?
Yeah, that's so tough, right? It's such a fragile subject because Peter needs to respect the fact that Madison is not, she hasn't had sex with anyone before. So obviously, I mean, just like put yourself in her shoes and imagine you're about to like potentially have your first time with somebody you want to be this most amazing thing, and it is amazing and it goes really well, and then you kiss them goodbye that morning, and then they go and they're gonna do it all over again with somebody else. Like that would be horrible. So I see where she's coming from, but also she had to have known going into the show that this situation could have potentially happened. I don't know if she preemptively thought that she was going to go in and present like an ultimatum. So it'll be really interesting to see what Peter decides to do. Because the last thing you want to do is, tug the heartstrings of somebody who you're like their first person to have sex with. That's crazy.
No, and that's a big responsibility. And, what I want to know is fantasy suites are a big part of the show. I mean, everyone knows about fantasy suites. So do you think that Madison probably should have told Peter sooner about waiting for marriage? Do you think that's fair to him to say it now?
Yeah, that's a tough subject because it would have diminished their relationship moving forward if Madison had opened up with, hey, just a heads up, I'm a virgin. Like I've never had sex with anybody, and then all of a sudden in Peter's head, every date he's going on with her, every time he spends time with her, he's all of a sudden thinking like, oh my gosh, we're gonna come to this point where I'm gonna have sex with her in the fantasy suites. I can say sex on here, right? This isn't like, okay, all right, cool. But like you can, I don't know. I think Peter would have had like a skewed outlook on their relationship had Madison told him earlier in the season.
I'm curious who you think the next Bachelorette is going to be. Any of the top 3 contenders or any of the girls we've seen? We take bets around the office, so I want to get the Matt Donald opinion.
Do you?
All the time.
I love how you're asking like I have some amazing thoughts and opinions.
You do.
I'm pretty, I'm flattered. I thought, I was thinking like Kelsey would be a good option, or Hannah Ann or Madison. I hate to say that. I hate because they're the top 3, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's always a top 3." One of those top 3.
Yeah.
Maybe Victoria P, possibly.
Okay, I liked her. She was a top pick for me. Not Kelly.
And Kelly.
Oh, you like Kelly? Okay. Interesting.
I like Kelly. I think obviously. I think the last episode wasn't reflected very well, but I mean, she's got her stuff together.
Now listen, Matt.
I know, like Rachel Lindsay.
Do not do this New York Times thing to me and waffle between 2 candidates. Who do you want to see be the next Bachelorette? If you had to put money down, who would you want to see on TV as the next Bachelorette?
Who would I want to see on TV as the next Bachelorette from an entertainment value, or from this? I want to see a beautiful relationship be made out of this season.
Entertainment.
two
Come on.
different-
Entertainment.
I mean, it has to be Victoria P. Could you imagine?
Victoria
Or
P
Victoria
or
F.
F?
Victoria F.
Victoria F. That's
F.
what I thought.
Victoria F.
Yeah. Fair
That would
enough.
be incredible. That'd be crazy.
That would be a wild ride, and then Chase Rice could come back and serenade his own date. And this, I'm just thinking of all the ways we could do this. Matt, thank you so much
would
for
be
chatting
amazing.
with me today. I really appreciate it.
Great. Thanks, Darren. I appreciate you having me on.
Thanks, Matt. Bachelor airs Mondays at 8/7 Central on ABC.